Hello and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible and all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young and I'm one of your adventuring, spelunking hosts. Joining me as always is our other adventuring and spelunking host, Beth Martin. Okay. Beth, the pleasure as always. What's the crack?
I am so curious as to how spelunking is relevant to D&D.
I don't know if it is. I was really struggling to find something that worked. And
have you ever been spelunking?
No. Even the idea of, I have done a little bit of, there's kind of climbing walls and stuff, and I just don't really enjoy them that much. So the idea of, and I know spelunking is different, but I still feel like it's in the same neighborhood,
It's kind of like gravity works for you as opposed to against you.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, but aren't you crawling around in narrow spaces and stuff?
Oh, I couldn't do that. I think it's more like not caves, but maybe caves where you kind of drop down to the bottom. It's not like you're climbing up. Maybe you're climbing up. I don't know. I think now I'm curious. I'm just curious about
okay, so
why do we call it spelunking? It's the weirdest name.
Well, that's a very good Okay, right. This is an amazing example here. I just looked at it. Okay, so it is spelunking is the exploration of caves, especially as a hobby. And the example is, this is the example sentence. Neil spoke of the Virginial spelunking in the mountains. And I'm like, whoa. What? He popped that mountain's cherry.
Well, I think I told you this. Where I grew up in Kentucky, there were a lot of caves. And cave exploration was a thing. And probably still is, but there was a story about this guy that was I'm gonna go explore this cave, and saw an opening in the earth and wedged himself into the opening in the earth and fucking stuck there and died. And they found him 4 days later, and literally if he'd gone another foot further, it did open up into this huge cavern that they named, and, but I'm just I don't care to be that famous.
No, it's I hear you.
I'm not gonna stick myself in a hole and die.
Famous for dying ass off.
Literally
in a narrow hole.
Literally.
Yeah.
And I read about that story. I was in elementary school and I was I hate caves, I'm afraid of caves. This sounds and I still can't deal with caves.
That's a healthy response to caves, honestly.
Thank you.
To be perfectly honest with you.
Thanks,
Andy. Yeah, I got you. So yeah, I there was something else cave related I was going to talk about. God damn it, it's gone.
It's okay.
It's gone. Okay.
Do you want to talk about I guess real life and reality and things that are happening? So we had our president inaugurated.
Huzzah!
DEI is gone. All the people that work in DEI, which is diversity and inclusion, that work for the federal government, have been put on leave.
Yeah.
There have been immigration raids, and people have been. There are camps being set up. It's just certain things that were promised haven't come to fruition. The Ukrainian war is not ended in the first 24 hours, as was promised.
Grocery prices haven't come plummeting down.
Yeah, right. And now everyone's debating what a Nazi salute actually means.
Yep.
So that's happening.
Yep.
Also, this is a little bit of what's occurring and what's the crack, but so they shut TikTok off for the United States.
Yep.
And then they turned it back on a day later. So it was weird. I was okay, let me see what the, TikTok is off page looks like. And it was it's down. And something along the lines of President Trump has said that he doesn't think it should be down and is going to try and put it back up.
I saw a message.
Right? So I see the political undertones of that. And then I went to do all of because I used a certain program for editing software for captioning, and then they took captioning away, and I was like, all right, so I went over the weekend to do all of because I try and make the videos like better for viewers, so it's not just like the Zoom layout. And the editing software apparently is Chinese also, and I don't have access to that either.
Wow.
I know. So I guess it wasn't just TikTok. I guess there are all these different Chinese companies that people use for social media, and some got turned back on, some have not. Actually, I'm going to look right now and see if it's back up. But it's just been it's just not only things are happening that don't affect me, and things are happening that do affect me, right?
Yeah.
And all the things that don't affect me matter more, obviously, but it's just weird that like I'm being affected.
100%. But somebody pointed out that like it just seems like there is such a like it's such a machine gun fire of executive orders that it's kind of hard. You're kind of like every time a new one comes out and you're like, whoa, what's this about? Yeah. Another one has been signed that's also like, holy fuck, what? Yeah. And it feels like he's kind of overwhelming his opposition. Like I presume, I'm sure there's checks and balances that will mean that some of that stuff won't.
Their lawsuits have already been filed for different things. I just checked. I just checked the software's back up. As of yesterday, it wasn't. So. Is
that also thanks to President Trump?
Probably. So you're welcome, everyone.
Yeah, it's so good. He switched the off button and the on button. Yeah, it's kind of nuts. It's a crazy time to be alive, truly.
Yes.
But I think, probably that's as much as we should say.
That's all I'm going to say.
It's for now.
Things are.
Yeah.
The pot is being stirred, and we'll see what comes of it.
Oh yeah.
And we have two genders in the United States.
No, thank God. Yeah, God forbid. That was, I mean, all the extra coding that was required to add that extra stuff in and things like that. I mean, can you imagine? Absolutely, yeah. As I said to Beth, whenever this happened, good luck. And I do sincerely mean
that. Like, tell the nation good luck.
Tell the nation good luck. And I mean it. Absolutely mean it. So, yeah.
I just love the concept of because I say so.
Yeah.
Then these things don't exist.
Yeah, that's kind of wild to me. I mean, I think that so many politicians are pretty corrupt. I think the vast majority honestly, and are in it for like a power grab. I think there are a few. I think there are a few half decent ones in there, but it feels like there are degrees of insanity, maybe.
I mean, when you think about it, like people that are drawn to power are typically, and I don't know, the percentages on this, but the people that are drawn to power, the people that are judges, the people that are lawyers, the people that are politicians, there's probably a certain amount that have like narcissistic, like personality disorders.
Absolutely. I mean, they say that like also, the head CEOs of companies tend to be, I think largely have sociopathic tendencies and things like that. It's just, yeah. But, hooray! Yay! Isn't this a wonderful world we live in? Yes. So, okay, do you have any crack with yourself, though, over the past week that you want to talk about?
Charlie had the flu.
Okay.
And was barfing.
Oh no.
Which is always fun.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Is he better now?
He's better.
Okay, good.
But it's just like, I think we've talked about this. Like, there's always like one barfer in the family. I was that barfer, and Charlie is the barfer, and it's just like he gets a fever, and immediately it's like I know because he's hurling.
You just like tag each other in. It's your turn to be the barfer now.
Yeah, it's just like, and he had eaten quesadillas, and that's all. I'll leave that. I'll leave that with you.
Oh,
but yeah,
deadly combination.
I know. It's just been a weird week, I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so since we last spoke, I have done so I think I mentioned this to you before. My family, so my parents these days have asked at Christmas that we don't really get them anything. Yep. So instead what we do is we take them on a trip. So this year we took them down to a place just over the border into Ireland, and it was like, what was it called? It was called Adventure Lights, I think. Basically, it was this outdoor park with zip lines and stuff that I guess was trying to do something for some winter income, essentially. And they had a load of light sculptures that were related to Irish folklore and things like that.
Cool.
And you went round and you learned about Irish folklore and stuff, and it was lovely. It was just a nice way to spend some time with them. We also went to this place which I think you would dig. It's a kind of farm restaurant place. The farm gets most of its ingredients from the restaurant gets most of its ingredients from the farm, I should say. So these really kind of incredible like egg and mushroom sandwiches, quiches, things like that. So it was just this really kind of cool place. They also have this, what I think you would like in particular, is this massive field like kitted out for all these chickens. It's kick ass, like all these like activities for the chickens, like these kind of broken up carts that they can walk over and stuff like that. It was very cool.
Did you pretend to feed them?
They were like at the other end of the field. Okay. I think they were just like, we're humaned out at this point. But it was massive. Like, it was just such a great space to see them in, you know. So it was lovely. It was lovely to do that. And my parents always kind of appreciate us, you know, getting that time together. You know, they always do. So it was lovely. It was nice. It was a nice way to spend a weekend.
That's awesome.
The other thing, I mentioned this to Beth. I'll talk about it a little bit. Was I went speed dating since we last talked.
Yes. Speed dating.
An interesting experience. I don't know if anybody, you know, who's listening has done it before. You maybe know what I'm talking about, but kind of chaotic.
Kind of lay out the scene.
So here's the thing. So it was in a place that's like a bar, a hotel. It's got a few kind of different things going on in there, but they had, that I didn't know about, they had a nightclub in their basement essentially. And the last time I did this a few years ago, I did speed dating a few years ago, and the last time I did it, I had done upstairs, you know, there was windows out into the street and stuff like that. It was definitely nicer. This time in this place I'd never been to, in this dark basement, and it was just a really kind of intense vibe for something that was already a bit nerve-wracking. Yep. The pressure was on immediately, so it was kind of nuts. The people like dropped out halfway through. Two of the ladies left.
We're just like, not my scene. Which I guess the stakes are low, right? If you're gonna walk away, absolutely. It's not like you're like on a one-on-one date with anybody.
No. So you know, I think I did. You know, I had a nice enough night. I wasn't super feeling it. As I said, I just didn't like the vibes of the place. But you know, I met some people that were nice. I mentioned to Beth, there were some people, and I think the same thing happened last time, dealt with the situation by getting hammered, very drunk, which was interesting, to say the least. But yeah, it was an interesting night. Nothing particularly fruitful came out of it, but it was definitely an experience, I'll say. I'll not say what type of experience, but an experience. So yeah, that was interesting. Finally, I was saying to Beth today, and this is going to date when we were actually recording this. So today was the day that Storm Éowyn, I believe, hit Northern Ireland. It was the first red weather warning in, I believe, since the new system has come in, it's the only one, but we haven't had winds like this since 1998, is my understanding.
Wow.
100-mile-an-hour winds that have been taking down trees, blocking roads, you know, cutting off electricity everywhere, which is nuts. And it was one of these things, because we saw the warnings come in, and it was so placid last night that we were like, oh,
nothing's
I don't
going to
think
happen.
this is going to be as bad as they say. And it was really crazy then this morning. So that was interesting. So then I thought, I'm going to be stuck in the house all day. You know what I need to get done? My taxes. So, try to do my taxes. I contacted, went into the online portal. It didn't have the option for me to file my most recent tax return. Couldn't find any information on what to do about that. Made a call to the helpline. It was on hold for 15 minutes. Somebody picked up, immediately hung up.
You had to call back.
I had to restart the process.
Oh my God.
Another 15 minutes. I was enraged.
Yes. I think that's like, because that happens to me all the time. Like, you're waiting in like an hour and a half, someone picks up and they hang up. Or the line just gets disconnected. And no one picks up at all. And I think it's just like, that's part of their way to like not have to talk to anybody.
I mean, I get it, because like I have sympathy. This must be,
People
especially
will just
this
give
time
up
of year.
and I won't have to do my job.
Like, especially this time of year, it must be a shit show having to deal with, like, because online tax returns are due by the end of the month, so I'm sure there's people losing their minds, But yeah, so that was fun. So I got to the stage where they're going to issue it for me. I can do it next week. I still have a bit of time, thankfully. But yeah, that was enough for me today. So I due to win and due to tax, I have not left the house today, so I'm a little bit crazy. But that's fine.
Gotta be in the house all day, gotta do my taxes.
Just gripping the desk here in fury. So that's my crack over the past wee while. Do you have any current for us?
I mean, I'm sorry about not being as present on social media, but things have been out of my control.
Wait, what?
Just like with Bendy not being on social media.
Oh, yes.
Because I couldn't edit software and couldn't get onto TikTok. So apologies.
That's fine. And like that's part of the game. We kind of withhold some stuff. We keep them wanting more, and then whenever we give it to them, they're like, "Yes, we love it."
Right.
So you're just being played masterfully by the master. Cool. All right. Shall we get into this week's topic?
Sure.
Rather than having fun with the title, I have literally just named it D&D and Other RPGs because it kind of rhymes a wee bit, and also it's just like, I feel if I was to do Dungeons and something, it would just be like, well, what is this? Is he talking about domination, or what's
Gotcha.
what are they talking about?
Gotcha.
So I was like, just keep it clean, so people know what they're in store.
Not
for.
like words from the Dungeon Master or.
Words from the Dungeon Master. No, God, I could never. And I feel like I am only. I mean, I've done a bit of dungeon mastering in my time, but like in recent years, not loads. So I don't feel I'm quite ready yet to reclaim the title. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so basically, what it is, and I've talked to Beth about doing this for a while, is I wanted to do an episode about exactly what the title's about. So both Dungeons and Dragons, talk a little bit about role-playing games, what they kind of mean to me, kind of find out what Beth's history with them is, or lack thereof, perhaps, and then we'll maybe just have a bit of fun with some D&D stuff as we go on. So Beth, what can you talk a little bit about? Have you played any role-playing games? Have you played any Dungeons and Dragons?
I've literally never played Magic. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. I guess the only thing that would be comparable in any way would be like murder mystery parties.
Yeah, I would say so.
So I've done, I don't know, 5 of those. Mm-hmm. And I would say improv has a little bit to do with that also.
100% it is.
But like, I've never, and I actually, because I was doing all my massive amounts of research yesterday.
Yes.
I rewatched this scene from Stranger Things season 4.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And they're like basically like this is like what D&D is, and it's like it's just this sweet scene where the dungeon master is kind of like leading these kids through. But yeah, I really don't have a lot of experience, and I'm excited because the kids are into it. Mike, when I was like this morning over coffee, I was like, tell me everything you know about D&D, and he's like, oh my god, like the benefits of this game are this, and use this and this and this. And then I had remembered, like, when we first started dating, his parents, when he moved back to Oregon and we were, like, officially dating, his parents, and he had his own place, his parents started being like, all right, like, start taking some of your stuff out of our basement. And, like, one of them was a box full of Ralpartha figurines that he had hand-painted when he was a kid.
Love it.
And I was like, what? And he's like, these are Ralpartha figurines. And I, like, made so much fun of him for it. And like, but I still, like, on my puja table, I like, the kids have a bunch of them now. I still have the ones that I love that he, and it's like, just I picture like little Mike, which is weird because I always assume that like he was born a giant 40 something year old man, right? But like little Mike, like sitting there with his like light and his glasses, like painting his little
magnifier,
painting his little Ralpartha figurines. So
that's a rules. Like it's one of the things like so many of the figurines especially, it became more a thing in latter years. Dungeons and Dragons, when I have played Dungeons and Dragons, I tend to just like it to be mostly imagination based, but I've definitely had friends who run games with actual,
it's like more like
Warhammer, figures,
right? That
yes, it would be Warhammer or 40k or things like that, which I enjoy. And like I enjoyed those games, but I never had the talent or the patience really for the painting side of it, But I love the lore, I love the kind of world. I kind of liked I think those games are a bit. I know they've changed a lot now, but I find the actually running those games is really fiddly and very kind of luck based because there's a lot of dice rolling. And also, it also speaks to, I like those things less because I do like some competitive stuff, but I more enjoy cooperative things. I enjoy things that we can do, people can do as a group together, that sort of thing. Which is why I always enjoyed Dungeons and Dragons a lot more, or like role-playing games generally.
So this is like I don't know if it's a fun fact, but I was in Paris a long time ago, and they have a medieval museum. And in the medieval museum, they had a whole display of 20-sided die.
Okay, nice.
And I was like, what? And Mike's like, these are like, he's like, I have to send a photo of this to my brother. These are D&D dice. Like, they've been around since the Middle Ages.
That rules. I
know. So, do you know when it was invented and by who?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, let me just get this right. Oh God, is it Gary Gygax? And is it that's the main guy. Is the other guy's name? I can't remember his name.
So it's a D.
It's gone completely. What
Dave
is it?
Aronson.
Yep.
So it was.
And it was like 78 or so.
74.
Okay.
And then it was first published in 74 by Tactical Studies Rules. And then was published by Wizards of the Coast, and then I think Hasbro bought it, and like they've been publishing it since 1997.
Yes.
So
they've been kind of responsible for the big push because like basically what we're on is 5th edition, which is one of the books. So I have like a set. I've got the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, Monster Manual, and they've had, and this one has become, it's been streamlined. They've added stuff. They've taken stuff away. They've made it kind of easier to play, more accessible, and live play podcasts.
Sorry. Mike is rolling a garbage can right outside the window. So if you hear rumbling,
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear anything.
It's not an airplane.
So like Podcasts have become massive for D&D. There's so many D&D podcasts now, and D&D is so big. There is a organization called Dropout TV. I don't know if you've heard of those. They're doing like comedy shows and things like that. They kind of came from a lot of those, you know, like there was Cracked and there was like Funny or Die, all these like comedy websites that kind of like came
just
and
put
went.
out their own
so
shit.
So a lot of the talent from those is kind of filtered into this and has created their own thing. And one of their D&D campaign shows called Dimension 20 has a show at Madison Square Garden this year. Yes. It's nuts. Whoa. It's crazy. So that's how big these things are, and that has obviously pushed awareness of D&D and role-playing generally, and it's why there's such a resurgence of interest in the hobby over the past probably 15 years or so now, you know. But yeah, it rocks. I love it.
So I was wondering, because Mike was like, oh, it, you know, like you use this part of your brain and, you know, you're like math skills and you got to like be able to add. And so it's like, are there like, you know me, I'm like, let's see if there are any journal articles about or clinical studies about the benefits.
Ooh.
And actually, University of College Cork found that playing D&D benefits mental health by providing escapism, self-exploration, and social support.
Nice, I love it.
So, like,
that makes sense.
Yeah, collaboration. So I'm going to just read these because I thought they were interesting. The game's collaborative and creative nature fosters a sense of real control and emotional connection, helping players deal with real-life feelings of powerlessness. Yay! D&D has seen a resurgence, particularly during the pandemic, with increased popularity highlighting its therapeutic potential for emotional and social development. The study suggests a wider adoption of therapeutic role-playing games globally as they aid skill development, problem-solving, and meaningful social connection. So,
love it. It makes sense. I think that like it. I mean, that's what I feel with it. That's what I have always kind of felt with it. I think that I didn't, so
sorry.
Just to talk a little bit about it's quite all right. A little bit about my history with D&D and role-playing in general was that, as you know, I was, a bookish kid.
I was too. I was
right?
in theater. I just focused on theater and books, and I should have been doing this.
Well, I think, but it was only because I didn't have the outlet for theater.
No one ever invited me.
What?
I had friends that played. I never got invited.
Jerks.
I know.
They're lost. So, we basically a group of guys, and probably in a similar situation, all kind of got together and we played. In my teens, we played like D&D. We played the Star Wars role-playing game at the time. We played a few other bits and pieces. One was called 20,000, as I recall, which was like set in this post-apocalyptic world, the far off year 2000.
Yeah. Right.
And things like that. So just like this kind of not, it was crazy, but it was great fun. And we had such a blast. And it was like, I think those were my building blocks to really getting into board games and stuff, though that didn't happen until quite a few years later. But it was so meaningful for me, like especially as a kid who was trying to figure things out, and I was never very sporty. I had friends in school and people. I didn't think I was never like bullied or anything like that, but I just didn't really know what my place was, and that just was like such a lovely kind of home for me. And we had role playing clubs and things like that.
Was there a stigma? School. Like, do you guys have? Because we definitely had I remember the typical American jock. Cheerleader,
yes.
Nerd, theater nerd, band nerd. I remember someone made a club called Athletes Against Thespians. Right?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, I
saw the dude because I got mad and the vice principal got involved and he had to apologize. I think he had to miss a football game, and he was the star football player, and everyone was mad at us. And but I saw him I don't know 5 years after that, and he was it was at college, and it was how are you? It's so good to see you, blah blah blah. And I'm just don't you remember?
Yeah, you asshole.
You were the one at this sign, and like, whatever. I'm sure he
Probably
became like a
some,
firefighter or something.
probably just because some of the attention was getting drafted away from him. Probably
Yep,
it sounds
yep.
like. Yeah, love it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going.
No, it's quite alright.
We had a
It's quite
stigma.
alright.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is there was a stigma.
Yes.
Like there were kids that would like sit around in the commons area and they would be playing Magic the Gathering, and you knew that like they were like LAN partying and like RPGs and all of that. Right?
Oh, I was definitely on. I was definitely on partying as well. Like I didn't feel like I was on the outside. I just felt like I'd found my niche. I think that
That's
probably
wonderful.
other people. Yes.
And I wonder
think
if
I was
it's
lucky in that
different
regard.
now. I wonder if it's different now. Like I'm hoping it is.
I've got a little bit of insight to that because I do the pet therapy still, and I talk to the kids, and there's like Dungeons and Dragons clubs, and like they are fairly common, it seems. And both the schools I go into has a Dungeons and Dragons club, and I'm like, so it is there, which is great. But I would say, I know that there are other people of, at the time who probably maybe didn't have as nice an experience as I would have had, or certainly as I remember it. But certainly for me, it was nice. And, just, in terms of those kind of delineations between, jocks and nerds and theater kids and stuff like that, it definitely happened. But I think it was more of like a clean line between the sporty guys and the non-sporty guys.
Gotcha.
That's what it always felt like to me. But yeah, but like I say, it was great. Like, and it was. I think it probably took me a while to really, come into myself and like my confidence and stuff like that. But I think it was really playing those games and playing those RPGs as a kid was really important to my kind of development as an adult. And like preparing me at least partially for the real world.
Yeah.
I still had a lot to learn, but
Yeah. I think it's time, like, I'm into it, and Harper's mentioned, because their cousins play, and she's like, could we play? And Mike, obviously knows how, and I was like, well, we could totally, as a family, I think that would be something we could do. And thinking about my son, who, when Andy was visiting, like, we had just gotten the Nintendo Switch, and he didn't understand that feeling of, like, when you are trying to get through a level and you fucking die and you get so mad, and he just freaked out. And I that happened twice while you were here, and then like never again. But like that, I'm recognizing that now, like as we're talking about this, like that need to lose and be able to deal with it and get back up and like keep going.
Yep. I still have such a clear memory actually of playing a really long campaign with some friends and getting to the very, very last fight, and we all died, and I remember it coming down to like a dice roll essentially, and we fluffed it, and it still stays with me. It was just so, but it was great. Like it was powerful. It really was, and I think I am kind of grateful that D&D isn't super competitive, so it doesn't feel like you're losing to anyone. It just feels like a shared loss. You work together as a team. Sometimes it doesn't work out, sometimes it does, and it's useful to kind of see that, I think.
So I printed out like questions as you're creating a character.
Okay.
This person is amazing. Whoever did 69 questions. I found this, I don't know, maybe
Sweet.
Reddit. But it's like,
Nice.
These questions are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I started putting, instead of like what do your characters typically keep in their pockets? Do they consider themselves an optimist, a pessimist, a realist? What do they like in actuality?
Okay.
How do they carry themselves around strangers, friends, lovers, family? If your character was a work of art, how would you describe them? And then I started, instead of putting the word character, I started putting like you. Because what if we asked ourselves these 69 questions?
It's true.
Like,
it's true.
How
really self-examination.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
If I was a work of art, like.
That's a very good point. And that's,
Sorry.
as a sort of, No, it's really fascinating because I had never thought about it. Like, and you really absolutely could use it as like a sort of a therapeutic tool in that way.
And you probably
like,
are, right, anyway, because, like,
yeah,
these characters are an extension of you anyway.
100%.
But I think you go further with it.
Yeah, I think you could. Yeah, that's so fascinating. Like, I have to say, you know, in creation of a character, I don't know that I would go that in depth. I do like putting together a backstory. It's so interesting because, like, I have, like, in the past, the last campaign I DM'd, I was like, guys, you know, give me a bit of backstory. What I'll try to do is weave some of that in through the story. But can we please not have I think it was 5 people, 5 badass loners, please, in the name of God, please don't give me 5 badass loners. That is not, it's fun. It's so boring. And that's exactly what I got. Like, variations on it, but they were all essentially badass loners. Like,
it's like
cool.
Walking Dead.
Yeah, I'm like, great, so interesting. So I think, but like, you know, I also understand the pull for that, especially with guys, you know. But like, okay, you know what? Maybe this is time. I want to talk a little bit more about my history and talk about role playing games in general. Mm-hmm. But so I told Beth about this before, and I'm just going to talk to her a little bit about it now. So Beth, I created a character for you.
Do you want me to open it?
I have sent it to you. Okay. Yes, I have.
I'm opening it now.
I'm gonna tell you what it is.
Okay.
So, you're a druid.
Okay.
So, a druid is essentially they revere nature above all. They love animals. They they can cast spells. They're innately magic. And the reason why, probably the main reason why I picked this character for you, or this character class for you, is that at level 2, which happens pretty quickly, they can wild shape. What wild shape means is that they can transform into an animal at will twice a day, basically. And I'm like, wow, but that's... I can't think of a better fit for Beth than somebody who could transform into an animal twice a day. And building, I didn't like, so there's like background and stuff like that. All I kind of did was just basically put the basics together. I made you a half elf. I just picked other kind of fun stuff that I thought you would like. So the spells that I gave you, you're gonna like this one. Number 1 with a bullet, because I was going through. I was like, oh, what spells will I give Beth? Animal friendship. I was like, well, which allows you to target a beast you can see within range. The target must succeed in a wisdom saving throw or have the charmed condition for the duration. Charm basically means they'll do what? You know, anything that won't harm themselves, they'll do for you. Second one was Beast Bond. And if you do that, you have a telepathic connection to the beast until this ends. And then just another kind of few ones. One called Goodberry, which is a really lovely one. It's a really kind of fun healing one where you can like create a handful of berries that have healing properties. But yeah, so like I think, you know,
wow. I've never seen. Okay, so this is a document. This is like
I sent Beth
a 4-page D&D Beyond. Mm-hmm. So is this something you would fill out for each individual player, or your whoever's playing would fill it out?
Yes, so this is, you know, so the, you know, say you were writing this for yourself, mm-hmm. you would fill this out. Mm-hmm. There is an amazing website, you'll see at the top of that, called D&D Beyond, that basically does all this automatically for you. And I recommend if you guys, you know, decide to do it, that you use this, because it makes your life so much easier. It like gives you all your resistances, to tell you your saving throws, things like that, which are really important. And you can just go on there and you can kind of just generate this. I think there are certain things to do. So like the core of a character in D&D is essentially around the kind of 6 attributes. Depending on what, you know, your character type is, you're going to want to specialize in certain attributes. So
he means
like a warrior.
For Americans, attributes.
Yeah. They understand, right? You must do. So for a warrior would want strength, for example. A rogue would want, you know, dexterity. A bard would want charisma, and so on and so forth. As a druid, your wisdom primarily, and then Constitution next are your two kind of main characteristics that you want to focus on. Any kind of spellcaster, so like wizards and things like that, have a core kind of stat that affects their spell casting. Yours is wisdom, so it's good to have good wisdom for you, so whenever you're casting your spells, they're more likely to work, essentially. But yeah, I definitely recommend. I'm trying to think if there's something else on here I wanted to kind of point out to you. I just kind of wanted to let you see. Oh, I've made your faith yogi.
I saw
that. And there's all your different, spells that you can choose. Are down at the bottom there as well. But yeah, like, I mean, I just thought you would maybe enjoy seeing what these actually look like.
I really do. Like, I love knowing how shit works. So
yes.
This is like right up my alley.
Like, basically, this is a PDF version of it. If you like build it on the website, not only does it gives you a digital version of this document that allows you to, like, say you need to make a strength roll. You click on strength, it rolls the dice for you and gives you a number.
Wow.
So it just makes your life so much easier. But so that's your character. I want to do, before we finish the episode, I have a wee scenario.
Okay.
That I might run through with you.
Okay.
Just so you can have a flavor. Like, it won't be long. It'll be like 5 minutes or whatever. But giving you your character now, I just put in Beth for now. Maybe you want to think about a wee name for your character before we get started. I don't know. And then we can just, we can do that for the end of the episode. So yeah, just before we get to that, I wanted to talk a little bit more about role-playing games, both kind of then and now, and what they have kind of become. So I feel like certainly when I was younger, D&D was the template. So all of your role-playing games were essentially dice-based. Most of them were based around D20s, D&D style. So, like, that's why your stats are ordinarily between like 10 and 20. Okay. But like, and things like, there was a Star Wars role-playing game, it was D6 based, but like everything was kind of dice based, as kind of time has went on, and like role-playing games, like there are now so many role-playing games, it's ludicrous, and they've got so many different systems. Like some are like incredibly complex, some are really simple. One of the ones that's really quite common now, I've seen in a few different games, is like a clock system. So like basically, as things start happening, so the one that I played fairly recently was called Blades in the Dark, which you're like a set of thieves living in this kind of like steampunky style city, and as you go on these heists, these clocks come into play, and as things go right or wrong, the clocks can progress, and as clocks fill, that can trigger something, and it might be something good, it might be something bad. It's cool. It's a real, it makes things feel way more dangerous, and it makes that sort of sense of impending doom really kind of feel like it's at your neck. But there's also I've been this spate of in the past 10 years or so, like 1 page role-playing games. There's one, so like even if the kids wanted to play something as a taster, there's a game called Honey Heist. You can look this up.
I feel
it's
like
1 page.
Maybe you've told me about Honey Heist.
Maybe I have. And it's like basically 1 page. It's about, you are a bunch of bears and you have to go, get some honey, basically. Okay. That is it. Okay. It's just great. And I also love the kind of worlds that are built. There's one that I'm kind of dying to try, but there's so many that I'm dying to try. That essentially is built in a sort of a world that has collapsed, a kind of world that's collapsed, but to the extent that nature has decided to reclaim the planet, and instead of there being land, the kind of surface area that humans now live is just trees, and you're living in a world where they've built these ships that kind of like sail along the top of the trees, and you're just having adventures in that world. And I'm like, that's so cool. I want to have an adventure in that place. There's also, like, I think there's a Stranger Things RPG. There is a game called Tales from the Loop, which is that sort of idea where you're all playing a group of kids who are involved in some sort of like sci-fi adventure type thing. The sky's the limit.
So, are these games that you play with other people, or are they like online with other people?
I mean, these are all games that you would play with other people, either online via Zoom or whatever, or in person. The last sort of major piece of I've started DMing again, and one of the things I said whenever I agreed to do it was that if we're doing it, I want to do it in person because I feel like it's much nicer. It's a much more fun experience doing it in person. Like Zoom's fine, but doing it with people in the same room, I think, is a much nicer experience. Because I really struggled with it. As I say, it was fun. It just didn't work out great, and then you're also having to deal with connection issues and sound issues. I think now with a better mic and stuff, it'd be better, but back then when I was using a headset, it was just kind of really crappy, But yeah, no, these would all be with people, if possible.
It's amazing that, because I was reading a little bit about why they created Dungeons and Dragons, and it was really just because they like the medieval period. Yeah. And out of that, this place and time was cool, and to create just the imagination to create something like this is awesome.
I mean, it's like...
And Mike said, and I don't know if he's right or wrong, but he's usually right, that they kind of some of it's based off of the book Dune.
I would believe it.
Yeah. Well, because everything is.
Yes, it's so influential. Same way, and also Lord of the Rings, for that matter. It was so foundational to all of fantasy, you know. Because, even the idea of the types of races and stuff like that, elves, dwarves, you've got halflings, which are hobbits and things like that. Yep. They're all in D&D, But it's interesting because, we've talked a little bit before about improv, and even in this episode, we've talked about, role playing essentially being improv, and I think that improv is still a pretty new concept, you know what I mean, in terms of I think improv's only been around for 60, maybe 70 years.
Yeah.
So they feel like similar concepts. It is all improv to an extent. D&D has a bit more of a kind of rule set to follow, but it still is the same sort of idea. You're still playing with people, you're creating stories, you're building worlds together. It's really parallel thinking to an extent.
Did you play it all during the pandemic, with people?
Yes.
Yeah. Was that helpful?
It was. The group I played, and it was one of my, I did a few different things when I was stuck at home. It was one of my initiatives to try to get people just doing stuff. What happened was we played our very first session before lockdown, and then lockdown happened, and then we ended up playing it on Zoom, and there's a number of issues. I think the party was a bit too big. I don't think,
because everyone was like, yes, I know, yes, I want to.
It was really hard in Zoom.
Yeah.
Yes. To make your voice heard. And so it was just kind of, so I thought it just didn't work super well. It was fine, but it didn't work super well. So I think, but I think it was nice to do. But I also did, I think it worked a bit better. There was a thing, I may have talked about it before, called Board Game Arena. Not role-playing games, but it was an online sort of board game website. And it was a great way to play straightforward stuff, but just get everybody together. Because I don't know whether you found over lockdown, whenever you were getting on Zoom chat just face-to-face with people, you were like, how do we not just talk about lockdown and how depressed we are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So this was great because it was a nice wee distraction. It was something else to do, another activity, and also we could have a bit of fun and it just really kind of broke the ice in really lovely ways.
So I guess what do you love most about RPGs or Dungeons and Dragons?
I love the I do love the whole. I just love that shared storytelling aspect of it. I think that, you know, I I quite like being a dungeon master, but I think I prefer being a player, and I think most dungeon masters would say that. I think because it's a lot more work.
Do you do most? I'm just guessing you do most of the talking.
Yeah.
You create the vibe and the intensity, and like if you're like embarrassed or not, fully present in it, then it makes it harder for everybody else to do that as well.
And it's also, you have to really be able to think on your feet. You know what I mean? You have to, whenever they throw something at you, you have to be able to react to it. Mm-hmm. I think you have to be able to change things on the fly as well, as they kind of I really kind of love throwing something at some players and just seeing how they figure out, the way that they figure out how to deal with it. You're like, I would never have considered that. That rocks. So yeah, and I think, other people approach RPGs differently as it's us versus the DM sort of thing. And it's not for me. I'm just there to have a fun time with people. Gotcha. And, that's what I really got out of it.
That's great. Yeah, I think I'm totally going to order the Honey Heist.
Yeah, you can download. Honey Heist is up online for free, so just search for Honey Heist. You can get it. One page document. Okay. Might be a wee way to. Yeah, it's literally one page. It's insane. But yeah, I'm obviously a convert, as you can tell. I love it a lot, and I just think it's a wonderful way to kind of spend time with people. I would say that if you do think about D&D again, maybe as a family, they've recently reissued all of the books in 5th edition books in a much more readable fashion, a much more manageable fashion, because the books were a bit obtuse. They were grand, but they've made them just an order that it gives you information much more manageable. But yeah, so D&D, it rocks. Shall we do a wee scenario? So I'll just take you through very briefly. We'll just do 5 minutes.
Okay.
I just want you to give you a flavour of what it is. Okay. You're trekking through a beautiful forest, but honestly, it hasn't felt like a trek. You love nature. You love being surrounded by animals, the trees, breathing in the fresh air. So much so that when you reach your destination, it almost comes as a surprise. A gaping cavern leers out at you from a cliff face. The silence that reaches out to you bearing stark contrast to the vibrant forest. You feel the presence of the curse you have come to confront. What do you do next? So this will be a point. You pass over to your players. You've set up the scenario, where they are. They're looking at this cave. And then you just kind of tell me what you want to do.
I gotta fucking go spelunking.
Perfect. You see the cave face, but you find a tiny hole that's probably too small. And you try to squeeze yourself down it. Give me a dexterity check. So at this point, I would get you to roll a d20. Okay. I would set a target, and I'm going to say, 10 or whatever. Hold on, I'm going to see if I can just find a dice roller online here. Oh, okay. Just type dice roller into Google.
Okay, cool. This is so fun.
Then
so
what I want you to do is,
my character's name is Bala, by the way.
Bala, okay, I like it. So there's literally a dice roller on Google. That's incredible. So go to there, and there should be a picture of all the dice. Do you see the thing I'm seeing? I'm gonna send you this.
D&D dice roller.
There's
is it dnddiceroller.com?
There's literally a Google one.
Oh, Google.
I'm gonna send you the link.
Send me the link.
Because I think it's better if you do it. It's more fun if you do it.
Okay, cool.
So basically this is just a check. So this is what will happen, and this is a fun way to kind of
Okay. So the 20, got it.
Okay. Tell me what you got.
7.
Okay. Okay, so you immediately get stuck in the hole. Your legs are in the air.
God damn it!
As you're stuck in the hole, you start hearing some movement, something crawling, something growling, something that you don't really perhaps want to encounter. Okay, what's your next move? This is not where I thought I expected it with. I love it.
It's like my worst nightmare. What do I do?
Okay, as you're waiting,
I can change. Okay, I'm a character, right? And I can change into something, any kind of animal. I'm gonna use one of my turns for today, and I'm gonna turn myself into a caterpillar.
Okay, I love it. Okay. And you can Oh, so okay, you turn into a caterpillar. Are you gonna crawl
down
further into this hole?
I'm going down
into
the hole.
Down? Okay. All right. Okay. So you crawl quite deep into this cavern. So the cave mouth that you saw initially leads to this sort of like series of different caverns and things like that. The area that you come out to, you find this kind of old sort of bear. It sort of looks like it has, not like it definitely has markings in terms of different hair color and stuff, but it also just has like almost like paint and stuff on it in a uniform sort of way. Just kind of sitting in the corner, looking slightly menacing, but just sort of sitting there, kind of half asleep.
I walk up to them because I need to talk to them about this foreboding curse.
Okay. Are you going to change out of the caterpillar?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Give me a check. Give me a D20 check.
Okay.
Let's say to see if the bear hears you because you're a caterpillar.
Okay. Hold on. It closed. Hold on.
It's all right.
Find the link. Roll the dice. Okay. Oh, no, it's there. All right. I rolled a 16.
16. Nice. Okay, the bear hears you. Wakes up. Blinks its eyes. Uses one massive paw just to brush down its chest. And then, basically, similar to what you just did, transforms into a human druid. I was like, oh, another druid? Also here to deal with the curse, I presume.
Okay. So then I will now change out of my caterpillar form.
Okay.
Back into a druid.
A caterpillar novel.
Yeah.
I mean, not my first choice, but okay.
But the most unassuming thing that like no one really wants to eat, right?
Hey, I'm not shape-shifting shaming here, okay? It's not the choice I would have made.
So I asked the other druid if they would like to combine forces to try and
just what I was thinking.
We're on a quest. I need a buddy.
Yeah. And then you proceed further into the dark cave. We'll leave it there because I'm not going to do a full combat with you because we don't have time.
Okay. I like it.
Right?
You're good at like creating the space.
Yeah, thank you.
And the visuals.
Yeah. I love it. I love it so much. It just makes me so happy. But yeah, so that's just, as I say, gives you the idea of what it's kind of like. I just kind of love, as I say, exactly like, the last thing I expected you to do was like say I want to go spelunking, but of course we talked about spelunking. So you just have to zig when they zag, so it's great. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that tiny taste of D&D.
I did. I'm in.
Good. All right, sweet. Love it. Okay.
Do you hear me, high school friends?
Yeah.
That play D&D still, invite me, I'll say.
Yeah, exactly. You jerks. All right. Is there anything else? As I say, I think we've done a nice wee kind of overview of role-playing games, of D&D. Is there anything else you want to chat about before we move to our final section?
I don't think so. I really appreciate you creating my character and like showing me that and just walking me through. I've literally never done this before, so
I'm excited that we finally got to do it because we've talked about this for ages. Well, I've talked about this for ages.
I feel like you like sent me a message in like October and you're like, I'm working on your D&D character. I'm having so much fun.
It is. I had to finish it off today because I started doing it and it was great fun, and then I just got distracted with other things, what I'm like. But I was like, you know what? Let's do it now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Good. In that case, let's move on to our final wee section, which is what's been bringing you joy.
It's hard to answer that these days.
I know.
Well, the Oscar list came out, so that's exciting.
Uh-huh.
So, interesting to see who's on and who's off, and the snubs and all of that. So I gotta get hip to watching all those. I don't know if the Oscars are actually gonna happen.
Yeah, that was the other thing. What? Because I know, like, I keep looking and going, oh, Fire Situation seems to be better, and then I hear that
there's another one.
There's another one?
Yeah, and they're like, they've got, I think there's four of them now. 2 of them are out. One of them's at 70%. The other just sprang up yesterday. So it's just gonna be a slog. So yeah, I'm not sure how things are gonna go with all that. Anyways.
Yeah.
So I have been so Silo season 2.
Yeah.
We're watching that, and I'm really enjoying it. And who's the guy? Okay.
Is he the first season guy or is he second season? I was season saw the first season. Okay.
And he's in everything, and I love him so much. He's in everything. Steve Zahn.
Oh yeah, he rules.
I just love him in everything, always. Like the way he plays his characters, and like okay, I'm hopping all over the place, but I'm listening to Cher's autobiography, and she studied with this acting teacher who gave her she said the best acting advice she'd ever gotten, which was you have to listen to what the other person's saying so that then you can react and respond in an authentic way, as opposed to like okay, like actually right. Like actively listen.
Yes. Rather than being like, all right, shut up, I need to talk.
Right, exactly.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, you could transpose that into your whole life. But
yeah.
So I'm watching Steve Zahn, and I hope I'm pronouncing his
I think you are.
That's how he acts. And it's like the way he speaks is like it's the first time the words have come out of his mouth, and he plays this character so well. He's been stuck in a vault, since he was like 12 or something, and it's just so well done and so interesting, and like these silos that have been occupied for 6 generations or something, and like how different they are, and trying to figure out how she's gonna get back. It's just so well done, and I love these concepts that are different, and I'm sure it came from somewhere, and there was probably a movie from like the 50s or whatever, but I'm really enjoying it.
I kind of dropped off season 1, but I think I was kind of like not in the headspace for it, but I did like enough of it. I love the concept, I might go back to that.
I will say, like, it's a slow pace.
Yeah.
And there's so many other things that you could watch that have a faster pace, but it really like the humanity of like 2 people stuck and like the need for each other, like just like the friendship that they the things that they connect over, and talking to someone that has been stuck for like 30 years by themselves and what that's like. It's really well done.
I do like a slower paced thing. As I say, I think I was just in the wrong mindset for it. So
what the fuck,
I might look back into that.
Yeah.
I know.
I recommend it.
That also reminds me. It's made me think about, because I'm really excited for it, is that the 3rd season of The White Lotus will start at the end of the month. Have you seen any of that?
Oh yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought because Steve Zahn made me think about that, because he was in season 1, and I adored.
I know.
I adored both seasons of that show, so I'm super excited for more.
Yeah. And have we got the cast list for that? Do we know who's in and who's out?
So 3? Walton Goggins is going to be in it.
Oh, good.
For sure. That's the cast's
it's
incredible. I can't remember.
Okay.
There's only one. I think they're just doing one crossover, per like season. So it's the lady, the massage lady.
Okay.
From season 2, who like, what do you call her, Jennifer Coolidge's character,
Yep.
Was said, "Oh, I'll set you up," and then it was a load of shit. So the thing that's been bringing me joy, I mean, well, a few different things. So I'm thrilled that Severance is back. I loved season 1 so much.
I'm like
so
holding because it's back, but it's like the episodes come out every Friday,
episode,
so we've only got 2 episodes. I need at least 4 deep in case I'm like, I have to binge this tonight. I need another episode. So
absolutely, and like definitely hold off for it. But it was really fantastic so far, I must say. And
like Ben Stiller, man, what a wide variety of things that man can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm really thrilled that this is the sort of thing he's doing now. Like it's so cool, and it's just such a well realized world. It just feels so complete, and I kind of love the humor in it, the dark humor in it as well. Great show. So the other thing is a game called Hollow Knight. Now this game is, 6-7 years old, but just one of these kind of art styles, just this really kind of beautiful world. It's this kind of like dark gothic world. You're essentially like this insect knight, and you're like exploring this sort of like world, this kind of insect city, I guess, and it's the environs outside of it that have fallen to a plague essentially. And if there's a commonality in like the video games I like, it's like I love exploring.
Yeah.
I love just finding stuff, and I'm like, whoa, what is this? What does this mean? And then just the layers kind of peeling back as it goes on. And this game just embodies that. And it's like the first time in a long time that I have been really excited. I'm like, I just want to play it all the time.
Good.
Which is really nice, you know. So it's always not just games, any piece of art that's just like, yeah, I'm really excited for this, you know. So yeah, Hollow Knight, wonderful game if anybody hasn't played it.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's it for me this week. So Beth, could you tell everybody where they can find us?
Find us at bendypodcast.com, and right now Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, for now.
Maybe Blue Sky. I don't know. Actually, no, I did sign us up for that. So yeah.
That's sweet. Okay, sweet. So just wherever you find things. All right, folks. In that case, as always, we'd like to remind you to stay bendy. Nice. It's a Friday night special. All right. We love you, folks. Bye.
Bye.